It was around 8 p.m. when I heard a knock on my apartment door. At first, I ignored it, thinking it was just someone from the building. But the knocking became urgent, almost frantic. When I opened the door, my neighbor, Mrs. Parker, stood there, her face pale and her voice shaking. She said, "I think something's wrong. I heard screams coming from your place." For a second, my brain didn't process. Screams? From my house? My wife was supposed to be home alone.
I asked her to explain, and she said she'd been outside watering her plants when she heard noises, not angry yelling, but sharp cries, followed by laughter. She thought maybe someone was hurt or something bad was happening. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, but my stomach dropped. Mrs. Parker leaned closer and whispered, "You need to go home, now." I could see the seriousness in her eyes. That's when panic set in. I sprinted down the block like my life depended on it. My mind was racing. What if someone had broken in? What if my wife was hurt? But a darker thought crept in. What if the screams weren't of pain, but of pleasure? My chest tightened. Every step felt heavier, like I already knew I was running towards something I didn't want to see. When I arrived, the lights were dim, and the house felt strangely quiet. I called her name. No answer. I climbed the stairs 2 at a time, hard hammering until I reached the bedroom. The door was locked. My wife had never locked the bedroom door in our entire marriage. My pulse spiked. I pressed my ear against the wood, straining to hear. At first, there was silence. Then, faint whispers, a muffled laugh. The unmistakable sound of movement. I froze. My body went cold, but adrenaline rushed in at the same time. My fists clenched as I realized what was happening on the other side. I pounded on the door, shouting her name. The noises stopped instantly. Silence. No response. My chest was burning, my throat dry. I could hear my own breathing echoing in the hallway. I shouted again, this time louder, demanding she open up. Nothing. Just quiet. At that moment, rage took control. I backed up, then slammed my shoulder into the door. Once, twice. On the third try, it burst open. And the sight inside is something I'll never forget for as long as I live. My wife was sitting on the bed, her shirt halfway on, her face pale as if she'd seen a ghost. Next to her was a man, not some stranger, but someone I recognized from around the neighborhood, scrambling to pull up his pants. The air was thick with guilt, the smell of sweat lingering, my vision blurred, and my whole body shook. Do you know what the first thing she said was? Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I can explain." She looked me dead in the eye and muttered, "You weren't supposed to be home." That sentence cut deeper than the betrayal itself. It meant she planned for this. She didn't even bother to hide it anymore. Before I could react, he bolted. He shoved past me, nearly knocking me over, and sprinted out the back door. The coward couldn't even face me. I wanted to chase him, to rip him apart, but my legs wouldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, staring at the wreckage of my marriage sitting in front of me. Mrs. Parker had followed me up, and she saw him run out. She gasped and looked at me with wide eyes full of pity. I could see the truth dawning on her face. The screams she had heard weren't cries for help. They were the sound of my wife betraying me in my own home. I dragged my wife downstairs. I didn't even want to look at the bed anymore. My voice shook with fury. "Explain now!" She sat at the kitchen table, refusing to meet my eyes, picking at her nails like a teenager caught sneaking out. My rage boiled over. I slammed my fist on the table. "Explain!" Finally, she spoke. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. My jaw dropped. A mistake? She had been laughing, enjoying herself, not crying out in regret. Then she tried another angle. "You've been so distant. I was lonely." The words hit me like acid. I wasn't perfect, but I had never broken our vows. And here she was, blaming me for her choice. The shouting stopped eventually. What came after was worse. Silence. The kind of silence that fills a house like poison. I stared at her, she stared at the floor, and nothing could fix the gulf that had opened between us. That night, I packed a bag. I didn't scream, I didn't hit anything, I didn't even cry. I was beyond anger. I was numb. Because once trust is shattered like that, no amount of apologies or excuses can glue it back together. And now, I'm here telling this story to strangers on Reddit because I need to know. What would you do if your neighbor helped you catch your wife red-handed?